journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations. Because if you smoke enough at home, you don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. Narcomex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. We're here for another segment, and we got our friend Reverend Will with us, and you got DanK on this side. Yes. We wanted to talk about Cannabis Spirituality. You say it, you can say the word better than I can.
Cannabis what? Spirituality. Spirituality
there
is one of the things, for me, of course, Reverend Will, you can always expect to hear me talk about it. One of these days I'll get it plain enough, simple enough, and everybody's just going to reach out and grasp it, because the Church of the Caring has nothing to do with what you believe. It has to do with who you are and how you interact with those people and things on this planet. If you give it all reverence, and if you're accountable for everything that goes on in your life, and remember these words, everything accountable in your life. Because understand, it's not something where you give up accountability when something happens to you that you don't desire or you're not happy about happening. Because the thing is that we are 100% responsible for everything. Now in that process, I don't know why we've been waiting so long in order to have marijuana be legal. I really can't even get it to be accepted as a sacrament within my church, although our church actually, mainly, the amazing part about that is that the Church of Santa Maria has sacrifice of animals, and that's okay in this country. And we also have the Ku Klux Klan, which uses the church as a way of saying that they have a right to gather and to organize. Now, if you can do these things, then we have a very simple plant. It is very wonderful. It has many incredible medicinal purposes. It also has spiritual purposes. And the thing is that we don't get to do these. And it was interesting for me when I went through my trial, because I had a judge who told me that I had a right to have my church and to practice my religion. But I did not have the right to have herb as my sacrament because it was illegal. Now I believe that herb, when it was on the planet before it became illegal. And I would really like people to think back to those days, the days when cannabis was used in oil, it was used to create incense, and it was something that helped you to attain peace and serenity in your life. The people who smoke today, the people who use it as a medicine, who do tinctures and other things, are doing them because there's a calling in their life that tells them that it's okay for them and it's going to help them. Much more so than the prescription drugs that are out there, the cigarettes that are there, the alcohol that's there, the workaholic that's there in order to take up all your time so you don't really have time to think about what's really going on with the world being destroyed. I mean, look at Frozen. Frozen is an incredible show that's just showing you all these things that are going on in the world that are not appropriate if we are going to survive. And yet, are we intensely focused on being able to make this difference? Heck no, we can't even make up our minds as to whether or not it's really happening. When you've got 6 inches of snow here at the end of March in Eugene, and in my home state of Michigan, you've got 76 to 80 degree weather. Now understand, my family's telling me they had no winter this year. And our winter was so mild that the biggest thing that happened to us was the snowstorm that just happened a week ago. Now, I hope that we can see that there are benefits to us all working together. And to me, the idea in the Church of the Caring is that we all support and serve each other. If there's anything I can do for you, you don't have to be a pot smoker or a medical card holder in order to have me help you. I would love to mentor children. I would love to be able to be part of the senior organization that goes on around here, trying to help seniors. But you know what? Just like cancer, when I go and try and work with the cancer people, they don't want to hear from me. They don't want me to be there. They don't want me mentoring their children because they're afraid of the things I'm going to say because I smoke pot. You know how offensive that is? As a veteran, as somebody who's had their own business, I've had a clothing business before. I am a professional driver by trade, and you're all worried about people who are driving and saying that they're not as safe or anything else. I have a great driving record, and I'm not saying that I'm the greatest driver on the road, but I am aware and I slow down if I have what I feel are any side effects or anything from having smoked earlier in the day or having taken a tincture. If I eat herb, I don't drive. It's just the way that it affects me. Now, other people it affects differently. The thing is, we'll never know if we don't get to try it, and we can't do the research because just like with industrial hemp right now, we're allowed to grow it in this state, but we can't grow it because we can't create a sample, and we can't create a sample because the federal government says you have to have a sample in order to get your federal tax stamp. And if you can't grow it because you don't have the stamp, how are you supposed to come up with the sample without being illegal? Excuse me, folks, you can figure that out. Please give us a call here because we haven't been able to find any foundation for caring in setting up a system like that when you want help here in this state to put people to work. But when people are standing here telling you that we have the ability to put you to work, oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that. We don't have the ability to take our timber mills and retool them so that we could do marijuana to save, or hemp, to save us from having to cut down our trees. Understand that kind of lameness would never be accepted by the loggers of old if that's what they really needed to have done in order to survive and to take care of their families. So I really hope that you wake up to that fact and realize that this is a product that could be used to save us down the road in oil and clothing and in food and medicine. These things are available to us. Why are we not allowed to use it? Oh, that's right, big business, drug companies, people who are dying of cancer and other things that are going to these hospitals where they're not even allowed an opportunity to really survive because, oh, you take all the suffering and pain, see how it's going to help you because we're not going to give you something which would help you to eat, which would give you the energy to actually fight off this illness.
Look at Jack Herrera. When he after had his stroke, they have him in a resting home. The rest home wouldn't let his caretakers to administer cannabis to him while he was there. And
that being such a crime because Jack had it so integral in his life for so long.
And it had since the beginning of this stroke, it was benefiting him, and he was on a high tincture dose, and he was responding to it.
And we never get to find out whether or not it really could have saved him because they stopped us from being able to use it to its full degree. And the stigma of it alone, the stigma of trying to talk to your doctor, I mean, that's my biggest complaint at this point in time. If you, as a patient, don't tell your doctor that you're using herb and it's helping you, and you know it's helping you, I mean, to me, I can't fathom that. The VA doesn't like seeing me coming because I tell them the truth. When I walk in there, I'm telling them straight up from the very beginning, if you can't tell by the way I look, understand, I'll sit down and talk to you about this because this is a medicine. And just because the federal government, it's the only reason. Do you know of any other reasons? The doctors and stuff would love to support it, I believe. Not all of them understand, but then I don't think all of them understand how beneficial it can be and how many different forms it has where it can be beneficial, like Rick Simpson's oil. Mm-hmm. And like the different cannabinoids. I was told recently that the Jack Herrera plant that I got my hands on the other day is something that's incredibly medical, but if I don't follow it through to its fruition, how am I supposed to know? I mean, we can't go somewhere where it's been cataloged, where we can actually see how beneficial it is, because we're not supposed to be doing the research. We're not supposed to have it in tincture form. We're not supposed to have it in hash or hash oil form. Well, how are we supposed to know whether or not this beautiful medicinal plant can help people if we can't do the research, folks? Understand the government's been trying to find things wrong with it forever, and they haven't been able to come up with it. They haven't been able to come up with one body of a person who has died from doing too much marijuana. And yet they're trying to regulate it in the form of nanograms, 5 nanograms in Washington, and that's one of the biggest things that's stopping people from pretty much totally supporting the bill in Washington state, is the fact that they can only have 5 nanograms as far as registering in their body, and if so, then they are driving impaired. So it's just something that I hope you don't mind my rambling here. It's been really kind of Dan, just let me go off on this, because the spiritual aspect to me is something that's incredibly important, and we don't get to talk about it that much. And a lot of it has to do with people thinking I'm trying to change them or be the great guru leader that takes people to a new level. That's none of those things. It is what it is. And if it would have been discovered today without all of the stigma and stuff that's been put on it by no one else but the federal government. I mean, people in Israel are using it for their soldiers. People around the world are using it to create, we have to buy our hemp from somewhere else in order to be able to test it when we have all of our farmers and stuff who are just dying for a crop that they can use.
I had a friend of mine, his mother was ravaged by cancer, in a lot of pain, and yet she wouldn't try cannabis because it was against the law.
Yeah.
And it's just so tragic that people. But on the other side of the coin, because my phone number is listed on the National Normal website, I get calls from people that want to know about cannabis. They want to know where they can get their card. They want to know if some have their card. They want to know where they can get medicine. But I meet a lot of people that never thought that they would ever have anything to do with cannabis. And then they end up with a medical condition, and then somebody tells them about cannabis, and they try it, and they're all just sudden amazed. But they're still feeling a little leery about it because it's kind of pseudo-illegal, and it's, like you said, it's been in the brainwash all these years. Did you know, by the way, this is the 40th anniversary of the Schaefer report that Nixon had, remember the Schaefer report?
Judge Schaefer that said that this was one of the most benign medicines that has ever existed, and didn't understand why it was being treated the way it was.
And Nixon refused the report. That was 40 years ago, by the way.
So you understand, folks, that we have been abused, we have been discriminated against. Please, Mayor, City Council, Eugene, Springfield, why is it you're not paying attention to the fact that you have a taxable item out here that you could use to create money for your school systems, since you're, what is it, the jackpot, the lotto and all that stuff? That stuff was originally to take care of the schools, the system that we have.
The Oregon lottery.
Yeah, the lottery. That was originally was set up to take care of the schools, and then they shifted. I don't understand.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's, well, that's the thing about tax and regulating. They say tax it, and I'll be glad to pay taxes on it. But the only thing that worries me is regulate. What part of the government is doing? Do we want them to regulate cannabis? What part of the government is working well?
Yeah, right. No, we want us to be in control of it. So.